So talk to me about how you got into project management. What was your kind of thought process?
So I found project management to be a sort of natural evolution from where I started. So I was part of the graduate scheme at Atlas Copco, or Edwards as it was called then, as a mechanical engineering graduate. And I got to the point where I'd perhaps done as much as I could do within that function as I saw it. But then I had a bit of a choice to make. Do I go further down a more specialized route and perhaps become a functional leader within product engineering or manufacturing engineering, or do I take a bit of a pivot and try and broaden out and get a wider influence? And I chose the latter because I just found it more interesting. I was never really interested in staying in my function. I was a bit nosy and wanted to probe and prod around and overstep boundaries and learn more about how everything works at a sort of a system level rather than just purely in my little area. And project management was the vehicle that allowed me to do that. So as Atlas Copco set up a specialist program management office, I applied for an internal vacancy there, and that allowed me to step up and into that area.
So what experiences did you have in your first project management role?
My first role, I had bits and pieces along the way within my function, kind of Six Sigma continuous improvement projects, and then being the functional leader on the product development of another project that someone's running. So I had little bits and pieces, but then my first proper project was a new product introduction of a turbomolecular vacuum pump, which we developed in the UK, and then we took it to be manufactured in the Czech Republic. So yeah, very much front end research and development and early stage designing and testing the UK, and then manufacturing and the handover and prove out and sign off over in the factory in the Czech Republic. So it was cross-functional, it was cross-discipline, it was cross-country. Yeah, really interesting work to be involved with.
And so did you do any qualifications or extra kind of training on top of your degree, or was most of it hands-on?
I did my degree before I started the graduate scheme, and then did a master's in manufacturing engineering that led me down the functional route to start with. But for project management, I thought the best thing to do would be at least get some form of project management qualification as it would be a barrier to entry in my mind. Without it, you've got to know what you're talking about, and therefore I did the Prince 2 course on a self-funded basis, because Atlas Copco wasn't a Prince 2 company, but I just saw it as a good way to get up to speed with the basics. And some of those ideas from Prince 2 I brought into Atlas Copco as best practices, but we weren't a full Prince company. So I did Prince 2 to start with, and then when I was at Ricardo, they were trying to increase the overall level of maybe you might say project management professionalism in the business. So they made it mandatory that everyone had to complete the APMP course. So we as a group all had to get studying and pass that course together. And what else have I done? The final bit I did was, as I went from projects to programs, I thought that was a different skill set as well, if you define projects as being a particular change initiative with a start and end point, whereas programs being a collection of projects, different skill set. So I did the successor to Prince 2 called MSP, Managing Successful Programs, and they all taught me different things and all complementary, I would say. when you look at the whole thing, look at as a whole, your project management career. So I definitely recommend project management qualifications to supplement your on-the-job experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What was out of those qualifications? Is there kind of one thing that you would highlight as being really valuable and that you've implemented and used across your programs and projects initially, the ones that you did before your program management?
I think from Prince 2 that it's quite purist, and it's very rigorous in perhaps the approach to say risk management, and being very clear on the difference between risks and issues, making sure you're not blending the two things together. They are very different. And also the idea that as a project manager, if you find a number of your risks end up on your issue register, then you're probably not so good at looking at risk. Either they appeared as an issue because you didn't get your risk assessment right, or you completely missed it on your risk register and it just appeared straight as an issue. So I think that's one of the things that I really think about quite a lot. Have I really accurately defined my risks? And then a bit of a personal reflection around, oh, this issue register is looking a bit long, maybe I'm not so good at risk.
Okay. And what about your further qualification that you did to top it up? Is there anything that you would highlight that was a really good learn for you on that course?
I think, for APMP, what I liked about it, which is my one in the middle, I found the wider notion of what a project leader is as opposed to a project manager. I really liked that it talked more widely about the skill set. But with MSP, I think it talks a lot about the what you don't think of as perhaps programs as much, maybe the Olympics or big behavioural change programs. It just opened my eyes to really what project and program management is or could be, and how do you make sure you're working on perhaps the changing hearts and minds side of things. And you never really talk about that too much in Prince, a little bit in APMP, but certainly more of a bias up at the program management level when you're initiating change.